Hello, my name is Matt Bird, and I want to welcome you to the PublishU podcast, where we explore the real-life stories of authors from around the world. Today, we're talking to Kevin Vickers from Mitcham in London, who has written a book called Gobsmacked. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you, Matt. It's great to be here.
Yeah, now, as long as I've lived in Southwest London, I've known you, really, it feels that way. And you've lived and worked in Southwest London for decades, haven't you? In fact, didn't you go to school in Southwest London?
Actually, I did. I was born in Mitcham. I went to school in Mitcham. I grew up in Mitcham. I still live in Mitcham. My mum lives in the next road where I was born. So it's sometimes really good to get to Tooting, or to come out of Mitcham.
And it's a great place to be. Kevin, just tell us a little bit about what you do, because you're a church leader, aren't you? But you do lots of other things as well.
Okay, so I'm a church leader in Mitcham. My church is called All Nations Revival Church. I'm married to Jane. I've been married 37 years now. Have 3 grown-up children and 5 grandchildren. When I left school at 16, I didn't go to college or university. I joined the bank and was with NatWest Bank for 22 years. And then I trained to become a church leader, and I lead a church. I'm a pastor in Mitcham.
Wow, amazing. And Kevin, when did you first think about writing a book? Were you a small boy, or when you were a bank manager, or when you were a church? When did the thought first cross your mind?
It's never crossed my mind, to be honest, Matt, until you called me. Our phone. I can still remember where I was. I was in Worcester Park, walking around a park with a friend of mine. It was quite early in the morning, about 4 years ago now. I think you were starting to develop this writing a book course, and you asked if I'd join it, and I said to you, no. It was January. I said, no, Matt, not for me. I don't think it's the right time. And so I said, no, thank you. But then it was a couple of years later that you contacted me again, and I think I'd seen some videos and some podcasts of other people that had done it. I talked to my wife, Jane, and she said, Kev, I think you should do it. And it was November 2022. And I said, okay, I'll give it a go.
There we go. So, gosh, persistence pays off. So I shouldn't just phone people once. I should maybe phone them twice.
I think that's the way, Matt. Yeah. That's.
And what was Jane's thinking? She wanted you to write a book because she wanted to get you out of her hair, or she had greater aspirations?
Well, I don't think it was to get her out of my hair, because I think I wrote right at the beginning of my book that probably Jane is the one that wrote the book, because I pretty much read a paragraph to Jane after I'd written it, because she's much more of a writer and a reader than I am. But so that was that.
Yeah, amazing. And so, Kevin, what is at the heart of your book, Gobsmacked? What's it about?
So gobsmacked is a slang word, really, called to be amazed. And the idea came for the book when, well, it didn't come for the book, but the word gobsmacked came to us when we were in America, and my son was in a serious car crash in America. We visited there, and someone came to visit him in hospital. When my wife saw this guy, who we didn't really know very well, except through some teaching that he'd done on video for us, and she said, I was gobsmacked. And an American picked up that word gobsmacked, and it stayed with us. And it became the title eventually of my book. To be amazed at, when I look back over my life, how in every area, from my childhood right the way through my family, my bank, the church, the work that I do in other areas as well, that I'm amazed. So gobsmacked is what that's about.
Yeah. And your book is a book of stories of, in some sense, ordinary life, but extraordinary life.
That's right.
Tell us one of the stories, Kevin.
One of the stories. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. So one of the stories is called From Aramis to Arrakis. Now, I've got this story right. My favorite perfume has always been Aramis, right from when I was very young, and my first girlfriend, I can remember spraying myself with Aramis. Well, once I went into a pound shop in Mitcham, and I saw some perfume called Arakiss. It was just £1, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. So I sprayed it on me, smelt it, and it smelt just the same as Aramis. So I bought loads of it in the shop in Mitcham, and I came out the shop, I smelt my hand, and it was gone. It was a fake. It wasn't the real thing. And I often tell this story when I'm teaching because I want to be the real thing, Matt. I want my life to be authentic. So my book is really storytelling through the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the good times, the bad times, and the crazy experiences I've been through of my life. And I've tried to be authentic, tried to be honest, and I've tried to be vulnerable. But I want to be Aramis, not Arakiss.
Ooh, there we go. Love it. Brilliant, Kevin. And when you came to write your book, Kevin, what obstacles in yourself did you need to overcome?
Okay, that's a really good question. As I mentioned just now, I left school when I was 16, and I wasn't particularly clever. I failed my English O-level, which is, they did O-levels in those days. I failed it, and I left school, joined NatWest Bank on the premise that I would get my English O-level. I had to resit it 3 times, and then I passed it on the 4th attempt, and I got a C grade. So I've never been pretty clever in terms of reading or writing. Never ever thought that I would write a book. Didn't think I was capable of doing that, to be honest. But I've listened to your story, Matt, and yours is pretty similar in a way. I think you never thought that you'd write a book or coach people.
No, unbelievable.
Right. So just goes to show that we can do so much more than we ever thought if we're prepared to just step out and have a go. And I think that's what I did.
Yeah, you certainly did. And what was it about the course that helped you, Kevin, in particular? I mean, I know you had Jane in the background rewriting what you were writing, but we all need Jane in our lives. But what was it about the course that helped you the most?
Okay, so I can remember the first meeting. We was on Zoom. There was a small group of us, and most people were probably feeling the way I was as well, that maybe I'm not up to this. I often say that it isn't a how to write a book course, it's a writing a book course. And I'll be honest with you, maybe I thought it was how to write a book when I first came on it. And so ended up writing a book at the end was an incredible bonus of the whole thing. But the motivation, Matt, the time setting, the goal setting, the way that you took us through the first session, looking at what is our motivation in writing, what might our title be, what we needed to do by this time next week, how we needed to cut time in our diaries to really make this happen. And so I think after the first session, I knew I was going to write that book, but I knew that I had to cut time out and be serious about it as well. And so I committed to do that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Now
you're a globally published author, people around the world, who knows who and who knows where, reading your book.
That's right. I think I'm pretty high up now, the New York bestseller one. Half a dozen people probably read my book, but somebody sent me a message the other day, someone I don't know sent me a message, just really encouraged by it, which was a real blessing. A lady I saw on Friday night had given my book to a friend to read it, and then asked for feedback afterwards, Matt. And the feedback was, oh, didn't he expose himself in that book?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, I've had a number of people around the world who are friends of yours who have done the course, and some of them published now as a result of seeing you doing it, Kevin. So you really are an inspiration. What's the bit of feedback that's encouraged you the most? What's the little story that's come back to you from the book? You'd say, actually, when things like this happen, it really makes me feel, really encourages me that I ever bothered to do the book.
Well, I try to write the book in a language that everybody can understand. I am a Christian, but I've wanted people who read my book to to find faith for themselves, but not in a religious, boring, unauthentic way. So I've tried to write in the language of ordinary people. I've tried to make it funny. As I said, I've been vulnerable in the things I've read. I've written about my mistakes as well. So just to write in everyday language. And I think that's how people relate. One of the chapters was called Auntie Brenda and Uncle Roy, which is really just talking about my aunt and uncle and some of the crazy things that I did, and some funny things I did when they were younger. But everyone has an Auntie Brenda and an Uncle Roy. Everyone can relate to that. And so for me, storytelling in a way that relates to people has been really important.
Yeah, yeah. And what, as we wrap up the interview today, Kevin, what's your highest hope for the book, going forwards?
My highest hope, maybe two things. One, that people would come to believe that they too can write a book. I wrote this down, and I want to read it to you. There are people who write books, and there are people who have books to write. And that came to me early this morning because I was in that second category. I was somebody that, wasn't going to write a book, but through some encouragement and some coaching, I've become somebody now who had a book to write. And I think most people, as you say, Matt, have stories to tell and have a book to write, whether it's about their life, their biography, their autobiography, about something they're passionate about. We all have a book in us that we can write. But secondly, I wanted to write something down that will be there for my children, for my grandchildren, for people that know me and people that don't know me, that could be encouraged in their hearts. Maybe they'll also find faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. So through my book is also the importance, because I'm passionate about my faith in Christ, and that we can all come also to know that solid foundation of hope in our lives too.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, that's a great note to finish on, Kevin. And I want to thank you for being with us today. And I want to thank you all for listening to the PublishU podcast, featuring the real life stories of authors from around the world. And if you are interested in becoming an author like Kevin, I really want to invite you to visit our website, www.PublishU.com, PublishU.com. And if you enjoyed this broadcast, make sure you subscribe for more. And I want to say thank you for joining us, and goodbye for now.
Thanks so much.